Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Diamond and this is, well, technically it's not a day of quarantine because I'm not technically working. Anyway, it's Sunday at the time of this recording and I promised y'all that I will be posting pretty much on a daily basis frequently during this whole quarantine and social distancing time as a way to keep y'all entertained and for me to stay sane and entertained in a way. So I decided to answer some of my questions from my Ask Diamond segments, which I've been neglecting to do because life, and I'm just pulled the first 5 questions from that email, and we're going to answer them. If you would like to send questions for me, the email address is thediamondroseshow@gmail.com. Good gracious. That tells you how long it's been since I've actually looked at that inbox. And right now there's quite a few emails. So I'm going to try to get through those while I have the time and the energy and the dedication to do so. So we're going to jump right in. I've already picked 5, just glancing at them. They're questions, some advice stuff and whatnot. But yeah, we can go through it. So number 1. Would you rather pick up a slug or a caterpillar? Oh, no. Okay. I was trying to picture how they would each react to me picking them up. And I know that, a slug would... And... That's my mom calling me. I'll call her back. But, and a caterpillar would also do the little spaz thing. You know what I'm talking about? When any object like that spazzes out. And I think that a slug would slip out of my hands when it does that. And so then I would have to go through the entire process of picking it back up. And then it just... Ah! Oh, no! Oh, God. All right. They're not here. It's okay. They're not... They're real, but they're not here. Okay. I would say a caterpillar because a slug moves slower, and I feel like trying to put it down, if it wrapped itself around my fingers or something, oh Lord, that it would take it longer to get off my finger. But a caterpillar is going to be on the move. It's going to be like, oh, weird object, weird screaming object. Let me get the hell off this girl's finger. It's just going to go. There, I gave you a rational answer to an irrational fair mind. Okay, next question. Do you have a new nightmare date story? I do. So I guess, okay, with this guy, it was before the whole virus thing when I was actually going out and going on dates, because now I'm not doing that. I'm not seeing anyone. I'll text you and anything, but just because we are practicing social distancing, doesn't mean that you can come to my house or I can come to yours. That's a whole different topic for another day. But yes, I have an answer for you. So I went on one date with this man, and I was pretty much done. He was super sweet, he was super kind and everything. And then we get to talking about the family planning stuff. And while I'm very open to having a conversation, because I do think that if you get it out of the way, sure. I know that can be very intimidating for some people to have that conversation. But homeboy came in with yeah, so when do you want to have kids? And I'm like, ooh. Ideally, in a perfect world, Diamond will be married. I know. You're traditionalist. I don't know. I like the security of being married with someone before I have children. So I would love to be married. I'd love to have my own house. And I was giving him all that stuff. I love a space for the kids. I would like to be in a career that I could take time for the kids while still maintaining my autonomy. All that stuff. All the things that I truly, truly want. And he's like, okay, cool. So how many kids do you want? And I'm like, well, maybe 1, because based on my observations with my friends who have had multiple children, I don't think more than 1 child is going to work for me One, physically, because I have a very, 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 very low pain tolerance, incredibly low pain tolerance. So I don't think going through the whole process more than once would be ideal for me. I also don't like the idea of constantly having to take care of someone or something. And I feel like if I don't have children at the same time, meaning if I don't end up having triplets or twins or something at the same time, that I'm going to be kind of stuck with that 18-year taking care of the thing. It's like, no, 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 no. This whole dedicating 18 years already is kind of like, to me. But I think I could do one. And if my partner and I have a conversation and they're like, two, we'll really have to talk about it. We'll really have to figure out, what our relationship looks like. So he's listening. He's being very attentive and asking, good questions. Like probing questions in a way. And I'm very fine with conversations like that. But then he turns it over and he's like, okay, well, I feel like I could be the guy that could be the father of your children. I'm like, what? Huh? I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah. I have a career, I have a house, I have a car. We live fairly close together. I really like your vibe. So I feel like that you and we could be compatible when it comes to raising children. And I'm like, appetizers haven't even came out yet. You're declaring yourself the father of my children. So, he expressed to me that his main reason right now for dating, he was previously married and they disagreed on children. She straight up didn't want kids. She's like, I told you this before we got married, and now suddenly you want to have kids? No. And it got to a point where they eventually got divorced because he was so persistent about it, and there was just like a bunch of stuff that happened. So I was like, okay, I understand why you got divorced now. But I didn't say that to his face. And I was like, oh, that's one of the red flags people tell me about. But I expressed to him, I'm like, I'm not at a time in my life right now that I would like to commit to someone like this. I want to establish a relationship first, because one of the biggest things for me when it comes to the idea of having children is that I want to make sure my spouse is going to be supportive. And when I say supportive, I mean beyond monetary benefits. I mean, you're waking up to take the diaper off the kid. I can't remember. Change the diaper. Take the diaper off the kid. You're waking up to change the diaper. You're waking up to do feedings. And depending on whose job is better, homeboy, you might be on paternity leave, because if I have the highest income and I have the most, whatever the situation is, you might be here with the kid too. So, it's just, I told him, I was like, I want to establish a relationship with someone first before I decide to have children with them. I don't want our relationship to be based on the fact we have kids together. Just because I've observed that a lot with, just in life. I feel like that's a lot how relationships and kids come along, is because, you have them and then suddenly you're stuck with this person that should have been a booty call for many years. I.e. my parents. But I ended up being okay. Anyway, that was kind of, when I told him straight out, I'm like, I'm not interested in what you're trying to do. But I do appreciate you saying, first date, let me know. He's like, okay, well, do you think in the future you'd be interested? I'm like, sure, but now that I know that the only reason why you want to interact with me is to impregnate me, I would be less genuous. Yeah, it wouldn't be good. Anyway, yes, that's the most nightmarish so far. Thank God, it could be worse. Y'all have heard worse. Y'all have heard a lot of stories on this channel. But yeah, that's what's up. All right, question 3. All right, my bi BF wants to get a boyfriend, but I told him that's cheating. He says that if he's bi, he can have both a boyfriend and a girlfriend. Any advice? Okay, so when I was in high school, that was a big thing. Everyone that was bi had a boyfriend and a girlfriend. And you would see them walking down the hallway, arm in arm, and they're like, yeah, this is my girlfriend. And when I was younger, I was like, damn, if only I was bi, then I could have a boyfriend and a girlfriend. Not knowing that that's never going to be Diamond's thing. Not necessarily being bi thing, having multiple partners. I don't have the emotional capacity to have multiple partners at all. So I do think that you and your partner will have to have a serious talk about that, because I think there are expectations on what sexual orientation means in your relationship. There's a difference between being bi and being polyamorous. And there's a huge difference between the both of them. And I think you should probably explain to your partner that, okay, are you telling me that you're poly and you would like to explore that part of your, sexuality? If so, this is what I need to be fulfilled in our relationship if this goes long. Or if you're straight up saying no, like you're saying that's cheating, tell him you're cheating on me. I did not agree to be in a polyamorous relationship with you. And the fact that you are telling me that you're seeing other people, which is breaking an expectation that was previously held in our relationship without necessarily understanding how I feel, you're cheating, straight up. And I think a hard conversation is going to occur, and you're going to have to lay it out to them. More than likely, give them an ultimatum, especially if it seems like this conversation is something y'all have already held where, hey, that's cheating. No, it's not, because I'm bi. Remind them that being bi and being poly are totally different things. That you support them being bi, but you don't support them being poly, because that is not the expectation that was in y'all's relationship. I hope that helps. Okay, number 4. My girl is not who I want to be with anymore. After we moved in together, I just haven't felt the same. I feel bad, but I feel like I'll be happier alone. Does that make me a dick? I don't think it makes you a dick. I don't. I'm a firm believer in do what makes you happy, to an extent. There are some caveats to that. But if you truly believe that you would be happier alone, I think that is a conversation to be had with you and your partner. And there is a tactful way to say that, because I feel like, I think coming from, if I were trying to put myself in your partner's shoes, that if you came to me one day, you're like, I would rather be alone than would be with you, then I'd be like, oh, wow, what the fuck did I do? But if it's important for you to be happy, and you didn't give me any details or what the reason is, or, X, Y, Z, but if you think that the trigger is y'all moving in together, maybe reevaluate that. I know it's hard to move out from being together and still remaining in a relationship, especially if y'all separating was because you were trying to preserve the relationship. Kind of like this whole quarantine coronavirus thing. A lot of people are, I see on Facebook like, oh God, I have to be in this house with my spouse or my boyfriend or my girlfriend or my person, and it's really wrecking our relationship because we're constantly seeing each other. Perhaps find hobbies, find friends outside the house. Like, don't let their interactions with you be your sole connection to the outside world. Because I find that a lot of my friends who are in relationships where they do live with their significant other, it's if your significant other and your house is the encompassing part of your entire world, where y'all only host at your house, y'all have mutual friends, y'all always do things together, resentment may eventually fester. It'll come up. Because after a while, you're like, why are you the only person I can see? Why are you the only person I can interact with? And that can definitely make stuff, yikes. So maybe reevaluate what is causing you to feel as though living with that person is not good for your health or mental health or whatever the situation is. Now, it's different if once you moved in, you notice some acute things about them that's like, oh, no, I don't want this in a partner. Now that I live with you, I can see that you're, a hoarder or a perfectionist or whatever the situation is. Think about that. If it is detrimental where you don't want this in a partner, then that is a bigger conversation to have. But also, because funny enough, I'm also a firm believer in not having to explain yourself. And there was a woman who watched one of my videos from a year ago about me ghosting a girl, and she's like, oh, well, you were cowardly. You should have just told her what's up. And I'm like, I don't have to tell her shit. Like, she made me uncomfortable. I told her I wasn't down with it. I blocked her because she wasn't getting it up to code. And then the woman told me I was a narcissist. And I was like, okay, whatever, girl. So if you feel as though you really, 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 really don't want to deal with this, you really don't want to go through the whole process, you're non-confrontational, you don't want her to try to talk you out of it, whatever the situation is, I don't say ghost them because it seems as though y'all have some obligations that are together, which is you are in a place that you stay, and I assume that you are equally paying the bills. It would be a dick of you to just up and leave in the middle of the night and leave her with the entire obligation of this apartment or house or whatever the situation is. So I do recommend you have a talk before you leave, because it's one thing for your significant other to leave while y'all live together, but it's a completely different thing for them to leave you with all the financial burden that came with living together. So that is definitely a conversation you will have to have, but you don't necessarily have to get into the nitty gritty about, well, this is why you don't make me feel this way or whatever. I do recommend you give them some information, because the not knowing can drive someone insane. But I'm not saying that you have to pour your heart out, you know? Yes. Okay, I hope that helped. Last question. I've been talking to people, and loneliness, no. I have trouble talking to people. I have trouble reading, apparently. I have trouble talking to people, and the loneliness is causing me to resent relationships. Any tips for a lonely / borderline crazy dude? So, homeboy, this is not your time because now it's getting more difficult for people to interact in like an organic way. We're not meeting each other at the farmer's market anymore. We're not seeing each other in the supermarket just due to the virus situation. However, I'm going to say this. I think you should use this time to your advantage. Now you have a medium that you can talk to people through. You can video call them. You can call them. You can text them, because if it's the face-to-face contact that's bothersome, I think the medium right now of us having to be distant will help you develop more skills to talk to people. So whether that's going on to random chat sites, whether that's, downloading dating site stuff and actually talking to people through that, because everyone understands we can't interact with each other physically right now. So the burden of oh my God, I'll have to talk to him in person is gone for a little while, because at some point you're going to have to face-to-face it. But even if you are currently using those mediums and you just genuinely have a hard time talking to people, I would try to analyze, like, how are you gauging your trouble? Because I've spoken to some guys who are like, oh God, I'm really bad at talking. And, I'm like, well, we're having a conversation. And I didn't notice that you have problems talking. I think you're fine. And I think it's a matter of talking to someone who is willing to work with you through it. And that's hard because you don't know. We don't have something on the top of our head saying, hey, willing to talk to people who have a bad time talking to people. You just have to kind of put yourself out there. But if putting yourself out there is causing you to get more and more distressed with your inability to talk, I don't say do it continuously, just like, oh, gotta grit my teeth and do it. But more like ease your way into it. Don't necessarily see a rejection as, oh God, it's me, I suck, blah, blah, blah. But see it as okay, I learned something from this. I'm going to talk to someone new, and we're going to keep doing until we eventually get comfortable. And at some point, you're going to end up talking to someone that you hit off like that. They won't even know that you have an anxiety or, trouble talking to people. So I think this is the optimal time for you to talk, but not necessarily optimal time to meet people organically, because we can't leave our houses. Or you're going to get, attacked by someone looking for toilet paper. I mean, that's one way to meet people. I don't know. Anyway, those are the 5 questions I chose. And I'll probably go through and read other ones and see if I can get a conversation started. But I hope you're having a wonderful day. Like, share, and subscribe. As I said, I'm going to be posting more videos for y'all since we're stuck in the house and I have more time to do it. And if you would like to listen to something cringy and terrible, my podcast is in the link below. Ooh, for $2 a month, you can hear me talk about stuff that YouTube will probably get me banned for. But yeah, I talk about more dating and relationship stuff, but to a degree that I wouldn't want my parents to hear. Yeah, think about that. Anyway, hope you have a wonderful day. New video for you tomorrow.